Hey everybody, it's Tara Green here. We're going to talk about the March 31st full moon, which only happens March 31st in PDT, but for the rest of the world, it is an Aries April Fool's New Moon on April the 1st, 2022 at 2:24 a.m. This is set for Washington, D.C. Eastern Daylight Time. And so the unique thing also about Aries, which just began, of course, not a joke, April Fools, there will also be two new moons this month, one at the beginning and one at the end of April, so that's quite unique. And the last one at the end of April is an eclipse, a solar eclipse as well. So, but let's just stick to this April Fool new moon. Well, there's nothing much to joke about here, actually. You can see it's very, very simple, the aspects here. There is the sun and the moon down. This chart is set actually for Washington, D.C., so the planets in the houses are only relevant to Washington. But, you know, Washington is pretty much the seat of everything in the world these days, almost. So the sun and the moon at 11 degrees of Aries, we count that as 12, conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer there. So Chiron, the wounded healer, discovered November the 1st. There's Chiron's symbol, looks like a little key there. Discovered November the 1st, 1977, but it's an ancient Greek myth. The long and short of the Greek myth is that Chiron's father was a god who transformed himself into a horse and raped a human woman who gave birth to him and abandoned him. That's what they used to do in the old days. But he was found by a bunch of healers. Now, because he was half immortal and a centaur and half human, he had these incredibly wise powers, and he was trained to be a healer. And in the Greek myths, he became a great healer for many of the Greek heroes, but then he was accidentally poisoned with an arrow, and he couldn't heal himself. Even his wife, Chariclo, tried to heal him. They couldn't do it. So Chiron finally goes to Zeus, which is the planet Jupiter, and asks Zeus to let him die. And Zeus says, yes, of course, Chiron, you've done so much good as a reward. Chiron also trained Asclepius, who was a real person. There's historical records of him who created dream temples, and there was many dream healing temples in ancient Greece, and the runes still exist. So we'll keep Chiron in mind about that too, okay? So as a reward for Chiron's great service, Chiron traded off some of his immortality to help someone else, and he was immortalized as the constellation Centaurus, which you see in the southern sky. I mean, he is related to Sagittarius, of course. Some people say he is the ruler of Sagittarius, but Centaurus was the constellation in the sky. So there's Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries. And Chiron has an orbit of 50 years, 51 years. So Chiron spends an average of 4 plus a bit years in each sign. So Chiron in Aries, you know, definitely the wounded healer, the PTSD wounded healer who's still as really brave and tough, but he's undergoing a lot of stress and a lot of pain. And so I would say that Chiron going through Aries now, the first sign of the zodiac, brings us to a new understanding of, I believe that everybody's basically PTSD. It's kind of by being born in this heavy-duty, dense planet. And I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying that, you know, everybody has post-traumatic stress disorder because we're also carrying all of the memories of our mothers and our grandmothers, especially women, carry those memories, but right back through time. So all the violence and all the abuse and the rejection and all of that hatred and, you know, starvation that's gone on through the world, the bad side of things, that's what Chiron's kind of bravely soldiering on there, but really hurting inside. So, you know, at this new moon, a new beginning, the new moons are the most initiatory parts of the month. You retreat for 2.5 days as best you can. That was the tradition that women always observed. They would go into the dark moon lodges, the moon lodges, their yurts, their huts, the red tent, whatever they had, while the moon was disappeared, to dream, to commune together, to bring wisdom through to their communities. So we need to go into that phase right now. Mercury, the messenger, is also connected to the sun and the moon, so that's a pretty tight correlation there. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, the battle strategist, is right there actually with Chiron too, and Eros is connected to Athena. So we need to have some strategic love battle plans, or how to strategize our wounds, our wounded hearts, our wounded souls, our wounded starts that never got started. So it's a very intense new moon. Now it's ruled by Mars, and there's Mars at 19 degrees of Aquarius moving into an exact conjunction with Saturn on April the 4th. So this is already in effect here, and you can see everything in this chart focuses on Mars and Saturn actually. So Mars is in a very tough place here. I mean, Mars in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of detachment, of science, of the internet, cryptocurrencies, freedom, revolution, people who are unique, geniuses, invention, group work, non-hierarchical energies. So thinking outside the box, that's Aquarius energy. And then Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So these two together, Mars and Saturn, are called the two malefics. That means they're the two hardest, worst reputationed planets from ancient astrology. And when they get together, that is very hard times. So again, this is a sense of, Mars, the battle strategist with Saturn, is having to take responsibility, maybe for being too detached in Aquarius, for being too much believing in science, because Aquarius is a kind of scientific sign, retreating behind logic and not feeling his feelings traditionally. But Mars conjunct Saturn is like being called on the big carpet, okay, on the red carpet. So somebody's going to be made to be responsible here, or else, because Mars and Saturn are also squaring the nodes of fate. Traditionally, is what they're called. So the South Node at 23 degrees of Scorpio, and that's what we're releasing, but also what we're drawing our emotions from right now in Scorpio. Deep emotions, the shadows, the control, the power, the secrets, the manipulation. That's the really darkest, lowest side of Scorpio, the sign of death. And we've been dealing a lot with death in public since COVID for the last 2 years now. And now, there's always been wars and strife in the world, and, people talking about their deep wounds coming up, and so we want to draw on that and look at it collectively, because that's what Aquarius is all about. Our collective, everybody has the same wounds, basically. There's only so many stories, the Greeks said, everybody has the same wounds. And work on them together, because they are resources. According to this chart, Mars, Saturn, and we'll get to whatever else is there, in the second house of resources and tools. So Mars and Saturn, as heavy as they are, always have a positive purpose as well. Again, Mars and Saturn are squaring the North Node at 23 degrees of Taurus, which is what we need to go towards. So in Taurus, it's about physical things. It's about, again, resources, tools, hands-on, blue chip, things of value, tangible goods like traditionally gold, silver, real estate, horses, whatever that was that you would cherish and hold on to. And so we need to embody and bring down to earth all of this energy, okay? That is our resource, and it's our collective resource. Taurus rules the throat chakra. We need to speak our truth. We need to stand for our truth. We need to find some stability in these crazy, chaotic, death of an old age and the beginning of a new one. So Mars and Saturn together, this is responsibility as men, as fathers, soldiers fighting and dying. We can see that going on in Ukraine, but wars have been constantly fought all over the world. And that sense of taking responsibility. So again, it's kind of like the wounded man again, or the wounded patriarchy, I would say, on the larger scale, still trying to be detached, but called to task here by the secrets, the lies, the deceit, the power, the control, the money, the sex, all of that manipulation, and really brought out into having to be accounted for, I would say. All right, now, one of my favorite asteroids, Juno, who I'm doing a workshop on April the 9th for the Tucson Astrologers Guild. Juno, the feminine force of genius, the feminine form of genius, is conjunct Saturn. So this is very interesting because, Saturn is the patriarchy. Saturn is the limits, the obstacles, the testing, the tradition, it's father time. Juno is the feminine form of genius. Now she, in Greek myths, she was called Hera in Roman, was married to Zeus, Jupiter, Jove, and she embodied the feminine form of genius. Her symbol is like a little magic wand. It's a multitasking ability. feminine genius is different than male genius. I know people don't want to work with genders anymore, but they're important as complementary polarities. The politics of the gender stuff on top of it still doesn't take away from the necessary polarities. And there's Venus, also connected to Juno there. So a lot of feminine wisdom coming in there. Sorry, what are we doing here? Is this right? Yeah, they're both in Aquarius. Okay, it's just the way they're bunched up in this. So again, Juno, Venus together. So that's a lot of Aquarius energy there. There's also Vesta, also in Aquarius at 10 degrees further up there. But that's a lot of Aquarius energy. That's Vesta, Mars, Saturn, Juno, and Venus, all in Aquarius. And then, of course, we've got Jupiter and Neptune moving actually closer and closer to their very historic, very rare conjunction on April the 12th. That's not so long now. They're going to meet at 23 degrees of Pisces. The last time they met in the 1860s, 1856, I believe it was, that spawned a whole new spiritual movement, and we expect the same thing to start again. Now we have a sense through quantum physics and spirituality. We know that we're all one. I mean, the ancients always knew that. They knew way more than we do, actually. So this arrogance about we know everything and the myth of progress and science, I don't buy into any of that anymore. So Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius, is also squaring Mars. It's at 12 degrees of Taurus there. In the fourth house, which means it's our foundation in this chart, a little bit far away from the North Node there. The only other things I want to mention is Ceres, the Great Mother, at 13 degrees of Gemini. She is trining, it's not shown on here, but trining Mars. So again, there's that feminine kind of wisdom, or two ways of seeing things, or it's the talking is the food here. And Vesta and Ceres are in trine, and that's kind of a nice. Vesta rules investments. She rules investiture. She rules keeping the hearth flame alive. And there's Lilith, very importantly, also at 28 degrees of Gemini, conjunct the North Star. And that is the North Star, again, the highest marker in the sky, opposite the galactic center. You can see the galactic center is there, actually. So the galactic center with Lilith, very, very important. Actually, they are squaring, it's not shown here, but Jupiter and Neptune as well. So this is a super galactic energy that we're able to tap into right now. And again, Venus and Neptune is activating our pineal glands, our dreams, our lucid dreams. You should really be paying attention to your dreams and healing in your dreams. So back to Chiron, teaching Asclepius, the real human person who created dream healing. So it's very interesting right now to really pay attention to your dreams, to your intuition, to meditate, to feel connected to everybody. And then there's the sense of this galactic center. Lilith was the first woman, of course, before Eve. She is the feminine archetype of the life-bringing and death-bringing goddess, actually. And so the great black hole at the center of our galaxy is considered to be the sacred yoni-verse, the womb, the cosmic vagina that all souls enter and exit at this time. So very much tuned into that. There's also been these incredibly powerful solar flares a couple of days ago with incredible auroras. There was one again last night on the 31st. So expect, these big mutations, big genetic mutations from the sun coming in. It affects the electromagnetic frequencies of the earth. Some people feel this as a kind of light enhancing, light encoding energy. It's ultraviolet light frequencies. When people take ayahuasca, they're left with an ultraviolet imprint, I was told by a shaman. So again, that's the real color of the sun, ultraviolet. And so really tuning in to these blocking out of the electromagnetic frequencies, the change that happens to our bodies. We're mainly water, your animals register it. And if you feel tired or headachy or dizzy, that's the effect of the fluctuations of the electromagnetic field. So we're just beginning to understand the power of that, of those fields, and really take them in, okay? So, April Fools, in the tarot, the Fool is the wisest card in the deck. There's the Fool in the tarot deck that I use. This is the Thoth Tarot here. And so the Fool represents the ability to remain fully in the moment, okay? So the Fool's wisdom, when you first have your first tarot card, you're embodying the Fool. It's about trust and innocence, living in the moment. the image is really of the soul agreeing to step into incarnation again and trusting that it'll be okay because there's nothing to worry about because you're an immortal soul. You've been around the block a million times. What is there to worry about? There's a symbol of Venus's dove and the heart on the heart chakra there, the root chakra, and there's the Fool. This is a different variation of the Fool, but be the wise fool, okay? All right, so if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at tarottarot.com. You can follow me on my blog at infinitynow.wordpress.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I work for the Cosmic Intelligence Agency as well. I am doing this workshop on Juno on April the 9th. If you go to my website at tarottarot.com, there's a link there. And I'm also going to be doing a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction workshop on the 11th. So again, I'm just putting that information up. Again, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website, tarottarot.com, and send me a message sending you many blessings for this full moon.